Hi there, this is Bibi. I hope you are having a great day. And today I'm passing by to share creative die cutting ideas and ink blending using the new bearded iris layering die set by Altenew. This flower is one of a kind. In nature, it has ruffled petals, velvety texture, and also can have veins, very intense colors in contrast with whites and yellows. And when I saw the die set, my main interest was exploring coloring. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing that color exploration with you to get your creative juices flowing. First, let me show you the die set, and has many Altenew die sets. This features a keyhole system. At the back of the package, you will find instructions and also coloring inspiration or an idea to create the flowers as you see them on the package. And here are the dies. These are high quality metal dies. They cut the paper like butter and they also emboss the paper. So the first thing I'm doing here is to die cut white cardstock. This is Neenah 110 grams cardstock. And then I place the die cuts over a sticky mat so I can control the die cuts so they don't move over the surface, and I can apply ink. I also can use the ink that is over the mat to do other blends if I want to. And here I'm using the Altenew sticky mat. This is to use with the Stampwheel. This is made out of photopolymer, so it will get stained with certain ink colors. So if you don't want to stain it, don't use it for this. You can also use a jelly plate or any other kind of sticky mat, or just place them over a non-porous surface so you can do ink blending without staining anything. So I also wanted to feature today the new ink colors by Altenew. They are releasing 12 new colors. Those are greens, pinks, and purples. And here I'm using the greens. So just to show you those colors, I'm adding different ink colors to each of these leaves. And then I'm going to add this reindeer moss ink that is the darkest of the 4 new ink colors around the edges and here and there, just to add accents and to make everything look more harmonic. Okay, I'm going to clean my mat and I'm going to place here some pieces so I can show you the new purple colors in this release. So I added a base of soft lilac and lavender fields, and then I'm adding shadows using deep iris and midnight violet. So here I was just testing the waters and I was exploring the colors. Altenew is very clever because they also release pink ink colors that I'm going to share with you next. And when you mix these purples with those pinks, the color blend is mind-blowing. So this release invited me to try all these colors, and here is one of the flowers completely assembled. Altenew has various tutorials on how to assemble the flowers. I'm going to link those in the video description. These are very easy to put together. They have 4 petals and layering pieces. Yes, I'm going to be putting one of these flowers together just to show you how to assemble the cards, also to show you some other elements you can use and give you extra ideas. So here I'm using the new pink ink colors: baby pink, fuchsia, magenta, and raspberry. The colors are gorgeous, as you can see there. Those are the real colors. And to be able to show you that, I'm using a brand new brush and I'm also applying the inks from light to dark. Once the brush is inked, I could clean it with a towel or I can wash it until the fibers are white, but I don't do that very often, only when I need to show you a new light color. So this is very easy. You just apply lighter inks over the whole petal and start applying darker from the edges to the center to get that color degradation. Now I'm going to put this flower together, and this is so fast that I can barely talk while I'm showing you this. But I put all the petals in a line so I know what is the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. You know, they are numbered. And then I start gluing them together. You know, there is no way to do this, but I like to add the stem over the flower and you get a flower like this. And I'm adding voiceover to this video several weeks after I filmed this. And when I see this looks beautiful. I think it's a nice flower. But when I was making it, I feel it was too flat. and I start adding Jazzberry ink in some of the edges or here and there, just to make this pop if I put it in a page. And this will be a very basic coloring. The flower is quite big. You can see the placement on a A2 panel. So one of them will be enough for this card size. I'm going to add the leaves here just to show you how these look assembled. And again, after gluing everything together, I applied a dark green ink color at the edges of the leaves, and I also splattered the paper with white acrylic paint. And that's why you see all those white speckles on the petals of the flowers. So that's the result of the first day trying these dies. These are the first ideas I had. And if you see there, they're quite big. You can make a big frame, maybe a wreath, but you want to put this in a card. Maybe just one will be enough. This is a 5 by 7 inches panel. I want to show you here or provide a visual on how you can place them. The sky's the limit. You can trim part of the flowers and place them in different ways. But I would think that it's a shame because these flowers are so beautiful. You want them complete in a page. Moving forward, I also made a couple of stenciled backgrounds using the new Altenew Relief Paste. These are gorgeous and I will be sharing a video about them at the end of the month. I hope you can have a look. So my gut feeling when I was making these cards is that the design team is going to use these products and probably we will make many similar cards. We all think alike. The only thing you might see different is the take on the flowers, how they color, or how they place the stencil. But it's the same materials, which is great because give you a variety of projects, ideas, and techniques that you can apply. So to add to the pool of ideas, I also decided to show you the whole process to get to the final samples I shared with you in the Altenew blog. So I grab a brush, this is a very fine brush, and I start adding color or this dark ink color on the indentations or the boss areas of the petals. I then add this dark purple ink over the edges of the petals, and I decided to use a white acrylic marker to resemble the white stripes the petals of these flowers has. I wasn't sure how these flowers will look. The only way to know it is to keep going. So I will invite you to keep going when you are trying something or when you are trying to achieve something. Even if it's not looking good at that stage, it might look okay later on. So the next thing I did was applying ink over the acrylic marker, and the acrylic resists the ink a little bit and it looks quite beautiful. So that was a winner when I was experimenting with this flower. And then I went ahead, put it together, and I added more ink at the edges or the base of the flower. I also added pumpkin pie ink in the center of the flower, and then I used a brush to try to paint very dark areas in the center of the petals, underneath the petals, trying to create shadows, like if you were painting actually a stamped image. So some people who like more arty things or more things going on in their cards, they could try painting the die cuts using watercolor brushes, Altenew inks, and Altenew acrylic markers. So here I am the next day trying different things. Again, I'm using my Altenew sticky mat, white cardstock. This is Neenah Solar Crest, 110 grams. I die cut everything out of that cardstock, and I'm going to be mixing some of the new purple and pink inks to add colors to the petals. I'm going to use the lightest ink in the set first. So I'm going to start with soft lilac in these petals here that doesn't have keyhole or number. And I'm going to apply a little bit also in the petal number 3. Then I'm going to use deep iris to apply color to the other petals. This is just a base color because I'm going to go darker and darker as I blend the ink. Now I'm applying Midnight Violet all around the edges of these flowers, and I'm going to apply this dark ink in the center of the petal 3 from the bottom to the top, just to add like a line of color across the petal. Next, I'm going to use pumpkin pie to add color to the bird or these parts here, and also on the white areas on the petals. Off camera, I clean the mat and I put these 4 petals on that mat, and then I apply Jazzberry ink at the bottom edge of the petals. I also applied Jaspberry ink at the lower edge of these petals here using what I have in the brush, and I re-inked the brush just a little bit to get a hint of that ink on those pieces as well. Then I grabbed the petal number 1 and number 3 and I applied even more Jaspberry ink at the edges and also across the center of the petals. I cleaned the mat and I put the petals facing down on it to be able to apply this Jaspberry ink all over the back of these pieces. Then I applied Midnight Violet over the edges of the back of these pieces. This will help me to get a better result when I'm shaping the flowers. So the next thing I did is grabbing a stylus, and this is a big ball stylus, and I'm passing this at the back of the petals in circular motion. Then I'm going to pass this over the front edges of the petal, and this will give it like a curved shape, and it's very subtle but it's very beautiful. And then using the Altenew tweezers, I'm going to bend some of the edges of the petals. And then we are going to put our flower together. And remember that each petal has an embossed number, and you start by gluing the petal number 2 on the number 1, then the 3, the 4, and there are some petals that doesn't have any number. Those are the finishing pieces. So this is done, and here you can see how different this look versus a flower I just glue without any ink blending or shaping. For the leaves, I did exactly the same I showed you before in this video, but instead using a dark green ink, I applied Jaspberry ink at the edges or the tips of the leaves and also a hint of pumpkin pie. So that makes the whole pieces to coordinate and to go better together in terms of color. I believe the shape and the ink blending can take this flower to the next level, but the flower is beautiful regardless. So you can do this in many different ways. This is just an idea to get your creative juices flowing, and because this is a hobby, you might enjoy experimenting as I do. So behind the petals, it's important to add dimensionals because the petals has a curved shape and it won't lay flat on the paper. I'm going to stick this over this piece that I die cut using the larger die in Ornate Nested Die Set by Altenew, and I'm going to reserve these pieces for later. Now I want to show you some background experiments that I also did in case you like any of these. The final cards might not reflect all of them, but I just want to show you the different looks and some possibilities. So the first thing I did was grabbing the basket weight press plate, and I used Starlight Altenew ink to transfer this image onto a piece of cardstock. I didn't need to transfer that perfectly because my idea was to layer the pieces like so. I also want to add a stamped sentiment, so that's where I also need a white background panel behind the flower. I also die cut some of these frames out of gold cardstock, and I was exploring how this will look better if on a better press background or just in a solid dark background. But no, none of those were ideal to me that day, so I decided to grab this light blue piece of cardstock and splatter the background using the Starlight ink. And I was determined to use a decorative frame for this card, so I used this die set here called Deco Cover Die Set by Altenew, and I die cut some frames out of blue, white, and gold cardstock and decided to use this golden frame for this card. I glued the other elements, and I also removed the backing paper of the double-sided stick adhesives, and before the frame was completely adhered in place, I lifted a corner to tuck underneath the stem of the flower. Using a little piece of paper, as you see there, I also added extra glue behind some areas of this die cut to make sure that everything was adhered in place. And because the front petal of the flower is loose, I also added a foam pad behind it to secure it in place. Before adding the leaves to the flower, I stamped the sentiment from Elegant Sayings stamp set using Altenew Obsidian ink, and I was paying special attention that there was no ink in the plate to avoid transferring that to the flower that has a little bit of dimension. After doing this, I just adhered the panel to a card base, and this is a top fold C6 or A2 card base. It measures 5.5 inches by 4.25, and I also made a twin card using blue inks for the flower. So I just need to add the leaves in this area here, and if you see there, the design of this card is pretty much the same. For the blue flower card, I didn't add a color background, it was just a white panel, and I added the frame. And this is also me trying to add layers to cards. I'm not good at that. I think I spend a lot of time trying to add details to die cuts, and I think the beauty of the cards is in those details. But I know a card is a whole, and you have a background, you have your layering pieces. And even after all these years, I'm still learning, and I'm sharing with you all those experiments that led a piece of paper to look completely different from another, depending on the steps you follow to create it. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel or visit the blog for more ideas and inspiration. Thank you very much for watching, and happy crafting. Bye!